On the sideline, I'm tired of eating the same crap every year. It's like eating chicken every damn day. I want to eat something different.
What is the way forward? I am so confused.
It's over. This season is over. The one positive thing from tonight was I did not see Jason Garrett clap one time.
Our team makes coaches and quarterbacks who are on the cusp of getting their heads chopped off by themselves look like they deserve a job and a pay raise.
Somebody take this team out to the shed and put them out of their misery.
That is Dallas Sports Talk. Every day for the last 10 years. And certainly after last night.
Yeah.
So listen, we've talked a lot about the coaches. We've talked a lot about the offense, the defense, the special teams. We haven't talked about the guy who puts it all together and who does most of the talking himself as well. How much of what we are seeing right now do we think reasonably can be blamed on Jerry Jones?
Look, Jerry ultimately makes a decision as far as who the person is that is supposed to be the CEO of the football team. He ultimately makes that decision, and he should allow that person to be the one voice that really sets the tone for this organization so you don't have different messages coming. So you can blame him in that way. But Jerry is not making any tackles. He isn't making any calls that I know of as far as play selection. And he is not and he's not out there coaching guys to, again, jump off sides, miss tackles, commit penalties. He's not coaching that kind of stuff. So we can get annoyed about the fact that he's constantly having post-game press conferences and he's constantly kind of sending out a different message that maybe what the head coach is, and he's allowing someone to continue to deliver mediocrity to him and to the fan base. But look, he's not directly impacting what's on the field.
You played there, Bobby. How much of a factor is he and is this?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I didn't know if you knew that I played there.
Yes,
and I was on the team when Bill Parcells retired, and they ultimately hired Jason Garrett before they hired Wade Phillips. You fast forward a couple years, he fires Wade Phillips midseason to give Jason Garrett the interim tag, only to then ultimately remove it and make him the head coach. Jerry Jones loves Jason Garrett. Like, I cannot stress that enough. He wants this to work more than anything. He is not going to do anything to prematurely take him out of a position to save his job. And that is what is, like, it's so tough for people to understand. Everybody's fired up. And it's almost, I think, out of spite now with Jerry that everybody wants him to fire Jason. And historically, that's what he would have done. But I am not going to do that this time. I'm going to keep him as the coach and give him an opportunity to win the East and maybe find a way to win that home playoff game and maybe win one more.
How much did we all enjoy, by the way, while you were having that diatribe, watching you make all those tackles on Michael Vick and people like that? How about 54? Where were you last night? I tell you what, they could have used you. Final word on this, Hacho.
I think Jerry is to blame. If he's the guy that brought the ingredients to the table. Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore, Chris Richard, they might be the chefs, but they can only work with the ingredients they have. And I will say this, Jerry Jones dictates the culture in Dallas. He dictates all of everything that is currently in existence. He is rewarding mediocrity. He has been rewarding mediocrity. Do no further than show up at one Cowboys way. That's the Cowboys facility. Look at all the glitz. Look at all the glamour. That has been rewarded to a team that has been average. That's problematic.
Yeah, there's no question that is his number one fault. The most important phase of team building is development and utilization. Development, utilization. That falls on the coaching staff. That's where the heads are going to roll.
We will be all over this game for the majority of our morning, and in our next hour, we will have two people you're dying to hear from. That guy will join us live. Stephen A. will be in our studio. We weren't allowed to play the sound of this because there's music on it, but trust me, you could just see from that the mood that Steve is in. He'll be with us. Marcus Spears will be with us as well. So we will be all over this game from both angles, every angle, as our morning continues. Meanwhile, I do want to sneak in a couple of other things on this Football Friday. Let's do this. It's been a disappointing year for the Browns, to say the least. They're 5-7, and barring a miracle, they're not going to the playoffs. It's been a very disappointing year for superstar Odell Beckham Jr., who was asked yesterday about his future in Cleveland.
I couldn't sit here and tell you whether I'm going to be here, want to be here, don't want to be here. This is exactly where I'm at now, and I wouldn't rather be anywhere else, you know. So it's something that, like I said, God has a plan, and in the offseason, everything will figure itself out.
So that's what he said yesterday. Then about 10 minutes ago, right after we suggested we were going to talk about this, coincidentally or otherwise, he tweeted, okay, I never said I was not happy in Cleveland. Just like everybody else, I'm hopeful for better results. Period. Next story, please, emoji. Let's talk about it. Here's the bottom line. Odell of everyone there, has handled this year great.
Yeah.
Far better than I think a lot of us would have expected.
Yeah.
That said, what did we hear him say yesterday, and what do we make of the tweet?
Greeny, there's a quote that's never left my mind in football. The fun is in winning. And the Cleveland Browns are not winning, and Odell is not balling. So you can only have so much fun when you've gone 4+ straight games without 100 yards for the first time since your rookie season. You can only have so much fun when you're not winning football games. And then remember, Odell is the first real recent NFL megastar. Not just superstar, megastar globally. There's a difference between the New York, the glitz and the glamour, and being in Berea, Ohio, where I spent my first year where I was drafted. So I think it's all starting to weigh on Odell Beckham slightly.
Look, he's trying very hard to stay present and stay in the moment. And that's really what he said. He said, right now, I'm just hoping for better things. Right now, he's trying to stay present and stay in the moment. He is giving you signs, though, that, look, he said God has a plan for him. He's giving you signs that I'm going to rethink this thing at the end of the year, as he should.
Correct.
As he should. There is nothing wrong with that. Because, look, what's going on in Cleveland right now, that place is going to look different. Because if it looks the same next year as it does right now.
But think about this, Louis. Think about this. Odell was the man in New York. Every weekend we saw a highlight, Greeny. We couldn't stop showing it of Odell. Have we seen Odell this year? So even from a personal perspective,
he should reevaluate his career.
He has been quiet on a level that I would not have thought possible for a team that gets as much attention and a player that gets much attention. You live nearby. What do you make of it?
Well, I don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to move on from him because they're not going to be able to get adequate value for a guy. As good as he is, he hasn't been great this year. I do think that probably having Jarvis Landry there, his boy, helps a lot. The fact that those guys are so close, that helps ease this situation. And I think he wanted to change the title that was put on him of the diva wide receiver and trying to be the good teammate at this point in time, even if it is in Cleveland and they are struggling. He wants to remove himself from the guy that was kicking the kicking net.
And you know what? And see, that's what's very frustrating about the narrative that was surrounding him when he was sent to Cleveland in the first place, which is that this is just the ultimate me guy. This is just the guy who's bad for a locker room. He showed you.
Works hard.
You know what? I mean, maturity is something that's an ongoing process, and obviously it's an ongoing process for him. And the way he's conducting himself now in that situation, I would expect him to be kicking everything this year.
I have only heard
everything, and he hasn't done a thing.
That he shows up every day and works hard. Like that has been the consistent narrative from anybody in the building.
I think people need to look at Odell Beckham a little bit differently until proven otherwise as far as how mature this young man is becoming still.
Yes, he hasn't played well, but or at least he hasn't had a big year, but he has handled it all very well.
Which is not
Let's
his
do
fault.
either or. Let's look ahead to some of the bigger games on the schedule for this weekend as quickly as we can here, guys. Let's go to the first one. And Bobby, I'm going to come to you first here. Drew Brees or the 49ers defense in a huge game between the Niners and the Saints?
I'm going to go with Drew Brees in the Saints passing attack over a great Niners defense, because when Drew Brees gets the ball out in less than 2 seconds, he is the best quarterback in the NFL at getting out of his hands quickly. Michael Thomas and him over that same time, 26 of 29 completions. He has a great receiver. It's a great contested ball catcher, and that's why I'm going with him.
It's a huge game in the NFC. How about a big one in the AFC? Chiefs and Patriots. Lewis, who you got, Tom Brady or the Chiefs defense?
I know people are going to sit here and go, what? I'm going to go with the Chiefs defense. I'm going to tell you why. I think that they are right now rounding into form for 3 different reasons. 2 of them that you just saw on your screen. One is Tyrann Mathieu. One is Frank Clark, who is getting healthy now and rushing the passer the way they needed him to rush the passer. And the other is going to be the young safety Juan Thornhill out of Virginia, who, along with Tyrann Mathieu, form maybe the best safety duo in the NFL. If these guys can stay healthy and continue to ascend the way they are right now, the Chiefs are going to be there in that AFC Championship game.
One more, Bobby. Lamar Jackson or that really good Buffalo defense?
Well, as good as that Buffalo defense is, I have to go with Lamar Jackson. With how talented it is, he just played the San Francisco 49ers defense, found a way to win ugly, found a way to win in the slop. If he can do it a guy that's a Ferrari on the football field and do it on a wet and rough track, he can do it against anyone, anywhere.
Let's take a closer look actually at this, because Lamar Jackson has been the story of the National Football League season to this point. I think there's no question of that. And Acho, I know you spent some time this week taking a close look, not just at him, but all that has come around him.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson deserves a lot of credit, and rightfully so. But kudos to Ravens management for putting the pieces in place. Because this Ravens offensive coordinator Greg Roman, he didn't build in a day, and I want to talk about it. 2018, first round. Before they took Lamar Jackson, they took a guy named Hayden Hurst, the tight end out of South Carolina, a straight baller. And then 7 picks later, they took the man, the myth, the legend, the guy we've all fallen in love with, Lamar Jackson. But with the third-round pick of that same draft, they went back and took another tight end, Mark Andrews, because when the rest of the league was going left and going to the spread, they said, we want to ground and pound you. That's what we want to do. Okay, but the Ravens said, if we want to ground and pound, we need a running back to do it. So in free agency 2019, they signed that bad man, Mark Ingram. But you still need a piece to take the top off the defense. So you sign a guy, you draft a guy in the first round who's named after a city, Marquise Hollywood Brown. So now the chef, Greg Roman, he has all the pieces in place. First play of the game, Cincinnati Bengals. Watch them cook. Hayden Hurst, Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, all these pieces, and Lamar takes a snap, and just like that, first play of the game, he delivers a strike, 50-yard pass to Marquise Hollywood Brown. So again, Lamar Jackson is a bad man, and he deserves a lot of credit. But when you let the chef, Greg Roman, get all the ingredients, you see what he can do with them.
That's really well done. Lewis, team building is your thing. What do you make of what they've done here?
Look, Ozzie Newsome was in Cleveland when I was in Cleveland. Who was the head coach in Cleveland at that time? It was Bill Belichick. How did Bill Belichick build his football teams? He builds them inside out. How does he like to attack you? He likes to attack you to be between the numbers first. Why? It's the easiest throw for quarterbacks. Why do you get a bunch of tight ends? Where do they work? They work between the numbers. Where does Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst work? Then he can go up over top of you. But then when he needs to, he can pound you with the running game, and that's where Mark Ingram comes into play. So really what this is called this. Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, so I'm going to go right down the middle. I'm going to attack you right down the middle of your body, and I'm going to take your soul from you. That's how this football team plays. And now, with Lamar Jackson, it's curtains, baby.
And so the beauty of it, Greeny, the lazy take is Lamar's a superstar. Lamar's a superstar. He is a superstar. But let's peel back the layers, Greeny. Let's go in depth and see why is he a superstar? Because of everything they've put in place.
No question about it. Look, when things go bad, there's enough blame to go around. When things go this right, there's enough credit for a lot of people to receive some. Sure. Huge hours still to come with us on Get Up. We're glad you're with us on a Football Friday. On the way next, should the Cowboys fire Jason Garrett right now after a Thursday night disaster in Chicago? Marcus Spears and Stephen A. both in our next hour. Live. Get Up. Oh, there he is. Swag.